Hi everyone, so today we're going to be 3D modeling a wood burning stove. You can use these techniques 3D modeling almost anything. I've even used these techniques for 3D modeling a dragon. So take it into whatever project you're working in, and I hope you enjoy this. And if you do, please hit like and subscribe below. The setup for box modeling starts with grabbing a cube, grabbing a subdivision surface, placing your cube in the subdivision surface. And you'll notice the cube looks a little bit more like a sphere now. I actually want to change this cube to be smaller. For the wood burning stove we're modeling. And while you're modeling and working on this, if you press Q, it turns off the subdivision surface. Q will turn it back on again. For right now, I'm going to keep it off. If you press the middle button on your mouse, you can see all 4 viewports. I have images of a wood burning stove as reference as I model. I recommend modeling based off of photos or a physical object or a mood board. I'm going to go ahead and make this editable. I might actually move up these edges here to begin with. U is for selection, so I'll press L for loop. E, drag this up. ML for modeling tools loop. And we can turn on symmetry so that if I put a loop here, it puts a loop on the opposite side. If I hit the shift button, I'm able to snap the loop selection to different points along the edge. I'm dividing up the bottom in order to add feet for the wood burning stove. I'll make sure that I have the polygon selection above so that I can select which polygons I'd like to extrude from. M for modeling tools, T for extrude, if I hold down shift while I scale, I can choose the percentage at which I'm scaling it to. With my edges selected, I will press ML to create edge loops. I'm going to select polygons now to select which polygons I'd like to extrude. And I'm going to extrude them on each side. MT for extrude. And what you'll notice is that I accidentally still had that selected. So I'm going to deselect that holding down Ctrl with the rectangle select. And now this time when I press MT to extrude, so this is a pretty good start. I want to select some more edges. So I'm going to hit select again and just individually select the edges I would like to affect. T for transform. Those are going to go outwards. E to move these edges, and I'll move them up. I'm going to press M for modeling tools, and you'll see all of the hotkeys listed here. I'm going to press W for inset. I only want to affect polygons. I'm going to select all of these. that are on the exterior so that we can get a lovely ornate design on them. UL, selecting this loop of polygons, holding down Shift to select each one to make an ornate detail on these legs. You can make your wood burning stove whatever style you want to, so don't feel like you have to copy me exactly. Just the modeling techniques are the same for whatever you're making, so make whatever makes you happy. MT for extrude. And what I want to show you is the before and after when I hit Q. So right now it's very rounded. Once I extrude, it's still rounded, but it's starting to take a little bit more shape. And there are things we can do so that this doesn't look so roundy. I'm going to add some poly loops. Usually the closer together poly loops are, the more they give something its shape. So some of this is experimenting. You can try something to get the shape you want, and if it doesn't work, there's an undo button and you can try something else. So never be afraid to try something 3D modeling. But do say frequently, because sometimes it does get difficult to undo certain things. UL is selecting loops, polygon loops with our polygon selected up there. So you'll notice that whatever I want to change while 3D modeling this, I need to select up here. If I press UL for poly loops and I have polygon selected, I'll select a polygon loop. If I have edge selected, I can select an edge loop. And I can select all the points in a loop. So think of what you want to change in your model as you select these buttons up here. In this case, I am going to change the polygon loop. MT to extrude. So let's say you want something to go out one direction, but you have different polygons with their normals facing different directions. So when you hit extrude, you get a crazy intersecting mess like this. How do you fix it? You press Ctrl and you select the direction you would like these to go in, and you pull it out to whatever distance you'd like. And this is how you don't get a crazy mess extruding. I'm going to press Q, and that rounded that out really nice, and that's actually what I needed. This is going to be, I don't know what the technical term is for this on a wood burning stove, but it's the section of the wood burning stove that collects the dust from the fire when you clean it, so that you don't just make a huge mess when you're cleaning your wood burning stove. I have preserve groups clicked on, and what that does is when I do an inset, it grabs all the polygons and moves them as a group, versus if I had this unclicked, I would be insetting each polygon individually. I extrude this inner, and press Q, I think that gives us a nicer rounded edge there, which I like. Then I'll press MT to extrude again, and I think that's looking good. I'm going to click UL, select what I'd like to extrude, MT, and then press Q so I can see the ending result. I like that. Going to extrude again. ML to tighten up there. This wood burning stove seems to be really deep to me, and I'd like to change its proportions. I'm going to select the edges here. Maybe this is something that's best to go into side view for. The middle button takes you in and out of your different views. All you need to do is press the middle button again once you're on a view and you can go into it. I've seen wood burning stoves have details on the side. I believe these have more of a purpose than just for aesthetics. It also strengthens the metal, kind of like how water bottles have ridges on them so that they don't break as easily in transport. They don't get warped and bent and crinkled as easily. Same thing works for metal. One of the nice things about box modeling is that no matter what changes you make, you'll know that all of your edges are filleted. Nothing in real life has a hard edge, like a truly hard edge where there's no bevel or fillet whatsoever. If you look at anything on a microscopic level, it will have a little bit of roundness to it. So it is good to 3D model with that in mind, and it also gives light a place to bounce off of, which just looks nice in a rendering, and it makes something look more realistic. Usually that part of a wood burning stove is round, but I kind of like it square because it matches a lot more of the form language of the rest of the wood burning stove. So I might actually leave this looking a little bit more square. The last wood burning stove I made it round, which is more typical in real life, but I'm kind of liking this. Right now I'm making the lid for the wood burning stove. I had a wood burning stove growing up, and we used to make popcorn on the top of it. This part would get really hot and you could even cook on top of it. I don't think I'm actually going to animate this with the lid opening and closing, so I'm not going to 3D model it as two separate parts. If you'd like to animate your wood burning stove with it opening and closing on the lid, you can do that. However, what I will do is I will make this door here so that it opens and closes. I've selected all those polygons of where my door will go. I'm going to hit Ctrl C for copy, Ctrl V for paste. And now if I hide the subdivision surface, you'll see I copied and pasted that. So that will be the beginnings of our door. I'm going to hide this and name it door. I'll come back to it. I'm going to press MW with preserve groups selected. This little check mark here. And I'm noticing that I didn't have things selected correctly because it's doing weird things. But we're going to figure out what is happening here. I believe this loop here is what is screwing this up. It isn't on the other side, it's just here. I'm going to hit dissolve and I'm going to try this again. MW. First I'm going to copy this so I can paste it again later. And we fixed our problem. So if you have that problem that I just had, where you have preserved groups on and you know you're selecting all of the polygons you would like to do something with, like an inset, as I'm doing here, and you're wondering why it isn't happening, make sure you don't have any weird loops happening. And if you do have a weird loop that's screwing up your modeling, hit dissolve and it makes it disappear. So I'm insetting that, pressing MT to extrude. Can extrude backwards. I'm gonna go only a little bit to make a nice fillet at the entrance, and then I'm gonna go further back. It's hard for me to see how far back I'm going in there. So I'm going to switch views to here. And I'm going to hold down Control and extrude again so that that looks nicer and isn't so rounded. So that just makes another poly loop in the back. So maybe you can see it better in here. There's a poly loop here on the inside, poly loop here on the inside, so that this isn't quite as rounded as what it was before. And now we have an opening in the wood burning stove. Press Ctrl V. I'm going to make this the new door and delete the old door. So in this instance, we want to create caps when we extrude. So I know I hit the buttons really fast. M for modeling tools. T, you'll see in the list, T for extrude. And I want to create caps because I want this to be a closed entity. Then there you have it. Both sides are closed. Hitting undo, remove create caps. It's open. We don't want that. We want this door to be closed. A solid object instead of just an open mesh. I'm going to turn off viewport solo. I'm going to add this to a subdivision surface. Now it's become much more rounded. Almost too rounded for my liking, so I'm going to hit ML, hold down Shift, add some more poly loops. Now we have a nice fillet around there. I think I accidentally hit L, and if you do that, you'll turn on enable axis, and you won't be able to move things as you expect. So be careful of that. I'm going to delete the center part. M, modeling tools, B for bridge. That's how you do it. Select the edges you would like to drag over. This plane is going to make up our glass. I'm going to make this current state to object. I'd like to add a bevel under the plane. Bevel, I want to affect points. By adjusting the offset and subdivision of the bevel, I'm able to change how the glass will look. So what I'm doing is I'm experimenting with choosing what points that I want this bevel to affect. I'm going to see what happens if I just select this one point up here. And then I'll go into select, store selection. Then what I'll do is I'll drag that selection under the bevel selection so that I'm only affecting that point with the bevel. And by adjusting the offset, depth, and subdivision, I'm able to change how this looks entirely. I like this pattern on the door. I pressed current state to object, and I'm hiding the old one. This is the new object. I'm going to delete those points. Don't really need them. I'm going to unhide that. So this will be the metal door around the glass. I'm going to copy and paste this, and this will just be the glass. The glass needs to go inside of an atom array. I mean, sorry, not the glass. The metal around the glass goes inside of an atom array, which gives us a lot of spheres and cylinders. Adjusting the cylinder radius will adjust the thickness. You can experiment with different amounts of thickness. If you're not happy with where everything is, you can select your points and move them. I'll create the stovepipe using a cylinder, and I'll take it down to the correct radius. I'll make sure that it's centered in the top view. And adjust the height slightly. This is starting to look nice. There's only a few more details left to add. And then I'm going to delete and B to bridge these together. Select the edges. I'm extruding these. I'm going to add a plane in here. Look at it from the top view. Make it much smaller. I'm going to make this plane editable. Grab the points that I need. To make a grid. I think that looks cool. I'm going to place this inside of an atom array. Moving an object while you have Control held down will allow you to make a copy. I created handles for the lid and door using cylinders. Now we're moving on to Redshift materials. I'm going to drop in here a dome light. Add a material manager. Redshift render view. We'll see once we add in the Redshift render view, we can begin to see our wood burning stove rendering. I'm going to pause that for right now and put it on my other screen so that's out of my way. Because I'm going to create some Redshift materials. Redshift materials, material. I'm selecting plastic from the drop down because it looks very similar to powder coated metal, so I'm going to use that as a starting point for this material. I think green would look interesting. I'm going to choose a mossy green color. I'm going to add some roughness to this. I'll add a light green sheen to the material. But I think I'd like to break up the reflections a little bit. So I'm going to add a max on noise. And bring this into reflection roughness. You'll see that just changed our reflection a little bit. I like that when we turn down the scale. So I usually do a little bit of experimenting to see what I like. So I decided to keep the octaves here at 5. You can experiment with the seed if you want, that just randomizes it. You can even experiment with what kind of noise this is. I honestly like just the default noise. So I'm going to hit undo. I think that does a good job because there's a little bit of texture to anything that's powder coated when you look really, really close. Like if you look at a powder coated metal bench outside, it's not perfectly smooth. This is a pretty square, rectangular, cubic object. So I'm going to click cubic for the Redshift material. And we'll see that our texture is humongous. I'm going to have all of these textures selected at the same time. Take down those a little bit, the U and V. I'll also take down the overall scale and the material. Here I'm adjusting the black and white parts of the noise texture. Black is shiniest, white is the roughest. So I'm making it a little bit shinier by making the white part of the noise darker. I'm going to select a different HDRI. I'll just pick Art Studio for now. I'll hide it from the background. I'm going to create a Redshift material. And this one I'm actually going to make glass. And that gives it the IOR of glass. And I'll add a little bit more roughness to it. Maybe I'll even change my mind from that and instead use a max on noise. Max on noise. Break up that reflection a little bit. Reflection roughness. Going to make it a little bit shinier because this is glass. I might experiment with a different noise. Definitely take down the scale quite a bit. You'll see that there's this button here. And if you don't have very thick glass, hit thin walled. That'll make it a little bit more realistic. Right now we don't really have anything going on inside of this wood burning stove. You can add in a fire using X particles, or you could do it in post with After Effects. It's all up to you. I'm going to create another material, Redshift material. You never really want to make anything 100% black because nothing is really 100% black in real life, and you'll lose a lot of detail. You won't be able to see any shadows on your object. So choose something that's almost black, but not quite. Not quite there. So first I want to make sure I have the object selected, and then I can hit the polygons I want. I'm going to press U for selection tools, L, U for F for fill. I'm going to hold down Shift because I don't want to lose that selection there. Well, I hit fill selection. And now I'm going to drag our rough black onto our selection. And you'll notice we just got a new selection tag. And there is our lid, a different color, which is great. This is an example of what you could do with your wood burning stove. I added the fire using After Effects. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it.